Saul Van Beurden, welcome.
Lisa and Mateo.
Welcome. I am very excited because this is your first public appearance in this new role at Wells Fargo. So this is an exciting time.
Oh, it is.
It is. So I want to set the table for everyone just to give you the background. So you started as a head of technology. Then you went to the CEO of consumer banking, small business banking. Now you're the co-CEO of new consumer banking and lending, but also the head of AI.
Yeah.
So all those transitions that you went together, talk us how that helped prepare you for where you are now, from role to role.
Yeah, there's a story there. First of all, thanks for having me here, Lisa. It's great to be here. If you look at each role is built on the last role or a couple of roles that you had. So if you look at my resume, you will see I've been leading large technology domains, transforming technology domains for the last 15, 20 years. And it taught me a couple of generic leadership skills. First of all, setting an aspirational strategy. Secondly, creating the followership that is needed by winning the hearts and minds of your people. And then three is really the biggest thing, executing a strategy. So when Charlie came with the question in 2023, do you want to lead the consumer and small business bank, I had to think about it for 48 hours, had a conversation with my wife, decided to do it for one other skill set that is really important for a consumer bank CEO, and that is the knowledge of technology, a deep knowledge of technology. Everything is at scale. We serve 55 million customers. You cannot have manual processes or brittle automated processes. And then just a few months ago, we did something that was logic and a statement. Two things. The logic, we integrated two lines of business that were serving the same set of customers. We had consumer lending, led by my dear friend, Kleber Santos and co-CEO, and we had consumer and small business merging together, looking at the customer through one lens instead of two lenses. That also allowed me to free up some time to start taking on the statement type of role, which is AI and running the AI program. It says something. It says something about it's important for the company, it's business-led, and it's focused on the customer and the clients that we have.
Now you mentioned a word when you were just talking, strategy.
Yeah.
What is your strategy in this new role?
Yeah. The strategy is simple. If you look at generative AI, agentic AI, all of us here in the room will agree it's transformative technology, right? So for us, the strategy is to fundamentally transform how the bank operates. And that means making our people, especially our bankers, more productive. It means making the customer experience even better with the help of AI. And last but not least, removing manual work also with the help of AI. Now, a strategy is great, but you need to have a couple of principles that we are very disciplined upon to execute that strategy. So we focus on the highest impact use cases measured by ROI. That's where we prioritize our resources and investments, but we leave a little bit of money and just enough people to also constantly explore new versions of LLMs that are coming in, new agent technologies that are getting rolled out. So you need to focus, but at the same time, you need to keep on learning. That's one. Two, AI upskilling. If there's one word that I can leave behind here, it would be upskilling. Making sure that your people, our people, are like confident in using and working with AI. And the last one is a sense of urgency. I talk faster than I normally do, and that's really because of the sense of urgency of what is happening in the market with AI. But you cannot allow that to happen at the expense of safety. So risk and risk management is a very important thing while you roll out a whole set of new technologies.
Excellent. And we're going to dig into that too in a little bit. I want to talk more about the different sections of Wells Fargo, because you have consumer banking and lending, right? You have commercial corporate investing, wealth investment management. Can you give us some specific use cases or examples where you're using AI in those different sectors?
Yeah, we have plenty of use cases. And before I answer the question, we like to think about use cases as patterns or groupings of use cases that intend to do the same. Because if you see everything as a unique use case, you build it 15 times, well, maybe you could build it once and use it across the company. So if you look at the groupings of use cases that we have, and I will give an example per grouping, the first one will be really banker productivity. We have wholesale bankers, we have the wealth management advisors, and we have the licensed and personal bankers in the branches. If you look at the use case that I want to highlight, is really what is happening with the licensed bankers that we have in the branches. Today, they are preparing for a meeting with a client or an appointment with AI-generated summaries that are so precise and near real time that it really captures what is really needed for that conversation. On top of that, we have propensity models, the likelihood that somebody is going to accept a certain offer, that are now so strong that that together is leading to 25% more checking account openings, 25% more credit card openings, and also more deposit balance building. And this is this is compound revenue for the future. That's an important one. It also takes away for bankers this mundane task of gathering all the data before they meet. Now they can really focus on the conversation. The second grouping of use cases that we have is really in customer service. And we all know the use cases like in call centers and contact centers. We have them as well. We know the top 20 reasons for our customers to call us. And we started the rollout of agentic AI in the call centers. Another one is Fargo, which is our virtual assistant in the mobile app. It started on a very, it's by now almost an old natural language processing model from one of the big hyperscalers that we all know. And it did the job. We had over 1 billion interactions where our customers were asking Fargo for help. Every time we helped our customers, we avoided them for making a phone call. So they don't need to make the phone call or they don't need to go to the branch. They could help themselves. Now we're upgrading Fargo into a full LLM-generated type of virtual assistant. Then the last grouping, and then I will stop answering the question, Lisa. The last grouping is really about making sure that we remove manual work. And you go into the areas of case management, you know what I mean, where something comes in to the bank. We have people looking at it, dispositioning it, next step needs to be made. Then somebody needs to assess what has happened. I give you complaint management as a great example. And then you need to create a kind of acknowledgement letter. That is so much agentic AI. So we are rolling out agentic AI in this type of processes in operations, and we do that at scale.
Now, with all that said, I mean, technology is definitely changing the way people work. How is it affecting different employees? Are certain roles leaving or certain roles advancing? How is it affecting the workplace?
Yeah. I spoke about upskilling, so I think that's a very important part of the answer. But yeah, of course, how work is done, I explained already for the bankers, their day is different. Instead of gathering all the data for the customers that they are going to see that day, they can really focus and rehearse their own conversation where needed with the branch manager. We have people in operations. If an agent now comes in, we have the first agents in QA, for instance, quality assurance and quality control. Their task is becoming to oversee the agent. Their task is to work with the agent to see, is this going in the right way? That is a different way of doing the role than you did before. Upskilling is so important. Upskilling means for us working with AI, overseeing an agent, being the overwatch with confidence that you know how to do that. But there's something else that is important, and that's what we call employability. And we started this whole journey of keeping our people employable to be able to bring them from work to work inside the company already years ago, before AI and generative AI came. We have internal colleges in the bank, consumer college, we have an operations college, we have a credit college, where people sign up for that college, and they can lay out their own path where they want to be in 3, 4, 7 years from now. And we lay out which expertise, experience they need to build up to get to that level. And it could be a very jumpy path that we are laying out. It's all automated and generated by a smart model. 60% of the folks on the consumer college have signed up for that. And what we see, and that's for me the most important part of the impact of AI, employability is a two-way street. We as an employer need to provide these tools by which your people stay employable inside the company, so you can bring them from work to work. And if that doesn't work, we make them employable for the labor market and for other companies to bring them from work to work.
Now, you touched upon something earlier, and I want to kind of dig a little bit deeper into there. It's the investment in technology and how you see kind of ROI you had mentioned. How do you measure success with this technology?
Measure success is a couple of different ways to look at it. It's ROI first, and ROI really means investments, the run cost of agents, and I tell you there are models where you pay $75 per token, and there are models where you pay $3 per token. And if you have a little bit of a massive model going on, the cost can be really high. So it's run and investment cost. And then for the benefits, we look at revenue increase. If it's really, we can mark it out as that's truly created by this model. It's always a little bit murky with revenue increase. And of course, the cost savings. And then you have the ROI. ROI is not the only thing. You also have to measure risk. Like for us, like AI incidents with material impact. If there would be an incident, you want to know, and you want to know why that happens. That's really balancing ROI. You want to make sure that your people are indeed employable. That's another one. So it's a balanced scorecard, if you want to call it like that we use to measure the success, not only on ROI, not only on risk, but also on the people component.
And then increased capacity means more customers. I mean, there's so many different ways to look at it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what about, you mentioned risk. So this is, I mean, banking is such a heavy regulated industry. How do you handle that with data?
Yeah, the risk of AI. Yeah. There's before I go there, there's the risk of non-action. So you could say, oh, the risk on AI is way too big, we're not going to do it. I think that risk is honestly bigger than starting to work with AI in a mindful way. There's a French philosopher who once said, like, if you invent a ship, you also invented the shipwreck. So think about the words like, and that's like for any new technology, it is a great new technology when it works, but it can be breached by bad actors. It can have a cyber issue, it can have a data leak issue, it can have a resiliency issue, whatever it is. So for us, risk management, Lisa, is our bread and butter as a bank, especially where we come from with our backdrop of the history. We have risk management in our genes. It's like the bread and butter. So what we do is really looking at generative AI, agentic AI. What are the new risks because of this? Or is it a new manifestation of the same risk? How do you mitigate it? Which controls do you need to build? Automated controls. Which ones are we already have? Which ones are new? Are they effective? If they are not effective, how do we make them effective? That you hear it saying, that's our risk model, that's how we work, that's how we think. Leading with a risk mindset is fully ingrained into the company. And that's what we do with AI, as much as we do with blockchain, as much as we do with any other new type of technology that comes in.
Now, risk, you mentioned risk. The company has been under regulatory actions over the past few years. You've been very, very transparent about it. Yeah. So when you think about that, and then now your asset class has been, asset cap has been lifted. Yeah. I mean, that opens up whole new possibilities. So take us through that transition and what it means for the company.
Yeah. So that transition was a day in May, when we all got the news that the asset cap was lifted. And the asset cap, for people who do not know what that means our bank balance sheet couldn't grow. And it's a little bit like running with one lung instead of two lungs. We couldn't grow, we had not the oxygen to do that. The day that asset cap was lifted, by the way, Bloomberg had the scoop. You all knew it faster than we knew, but we heard it through Bloomberg. Everybody still remembers where they were. Everybody still remembers that moment because we were for 7-8 years bugged down, working hard to remediate the whole bank from the situation that we were in and where we came out. We also knew that the moment the asset cap was lifted, the expectations would be, now you're going to grow. And Charlie Scharf, our CEO, always said it like, this is not a flip of a light switch type of growth. It's not like suddenly asset cap is lifted and now we grow like yanking crazy. That's not what it is. What you do is compound impact of all the things that we have been doing with a strong risk platform and foundation. But what we have been doing since then, and even before lifting the asset cap, quadrupling marketing in the consumer business, already growing checking accounts, already growing credit cards. We've been investing in CIB, the corporate investment bank, with hiring MDs, and really building out advisory business. We have been investing in the branch network. If you have seen them lately, they look different than how they were looking 5 years ago, 7 years ago. We're opening new branches here in New York. Like we are on a roll here in New York, Manhattan, but also bigger New York metro area. We're opening in Chicago, we're opening in Tennessee, we're opening in Texas. we're open for business in that sense. We're hiring more bankers. We create more capacity for the bank to grow, also with the help of AI. And what you hear is, I think I used the word grow or growth 10 times in one sentence, so that you know the theme and the memo. That memo went out.
It did.
Yeah.
And speaking of growth, where do you see the technology growing? I mean, what are you keeping an eye on? What do you think is the next thing that you'll be working with?
Gosh, Lisa, that's a hard question, because if you would ask that 5 years ago, nobody would have said like generative AI will be completely mainstream. We even didn't know what it meant. So I think there's this technology where suddenly there's a popping moment. And AI had this popping moment in 2022 with ChatGPT and the release and the announcement of ChatGPT. It was popping. Like suddenly AI became mainstream for everybody in the street, everybody at home. You all have it on your phones. We all use it every day. There's one thing where I think this could happen as well, is with quantum computing. And I've been talking about this for the last 10 years. There could be a set of researchers now, 5 people in a room, who are finding out how to make it more scalable and more stable in the outcomes of quantum. And if that happens, then we have no idea in this room what type of compute power becomes available. And then you start to think about AI and the level of increased intelligence that is happening and still happening. Then you start to look at the compute power by quantum compute. And places like the markets, we call that the markets in banks, trading, the trading areas, they all run on large quantitative models. If we have all the power and all the data, then you can go, so that changes the whole dynamics of that industry. Yeah.
So in that same line, what concerns you? What are you worried about, thinking about where technology is going?
There's always like, listen, are we still knowing what is happening? Like, are we still conscious about it? And are we still making decisions that we feel like are our decisions? There's always the bad actor. Like I said, the ship and the shipwreck. So there's always someone who tries to exploit that new technology and use it for their own benefit at your expense. And I think there's something like, if I can make one call here, is keep on using your own brain. That is like, and that's our brains, if you actually start to look at it. Student syndrome. We all went to college or school. When did you start to learn for a test? It was like only when it was needed, right? Because your brain is just not liking to be active that much. Cognitive effort is an uphill thing for your brain. Now, with the coming of the phone and generative AI, our brain is suddenly saying, great, I don't need to think anymore. The only thing that we need to do is just keep on thinking through, play chess, think about, read a book, think differently, challenge yourself. That's the only thing that I would say in terms of what is changing and are we still in control of our own lives. Use your own brain, I always say.
Good
That's
advice.
a Dutch remark.
Before we wrap up, I can't have the head of AI next to me and not ask how you use it on a personal level.
Oh, there's so many different examples. And I think the most important, what I never expected that I would do is asking, in this case it was ChatGPT, for advice to have a difficult conversation with one of the boys that we have. And I never expected that it would be so correct in terms of empathy, unintended consequences. If you use these words, avoid these words. It was a holy pistol that I read and I shared it with my wife. I said, I think we have a great script here. I never expected that would happen. I use it for anything that breaks in the house. You have the live function. So when the laundry machine was broken not so long ago, you just show the error and the way, and it gives you back like literally what you have to do, which steps you have to take.
Did you fix it?
Yeah, we fixed it. Yeah, no, it's not like a miracle because the thing really knows. They really know. The models are so intelligent because everything is loaded there. Yeah, those are 2 examples.
Those are 2. For me, it's put a lot of debates between myself and my husband. It's figured out, and who is the winner of that debate? That would be me. Saul, thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me here.
Next up, we have my colleague, Romain Bosick. He's going to bring up his panel, and they're talking about winning through innovation. Thank you.
Thank you.